as I've mentioned, I've swum with the Dolphins over 55 times. And while every single swim has been different and incredible, they've all had one thing in common. They've changed me, they've expanded me in profound ways. So today I want to share a few moments, just me and the Dolphins, that have really stayed with me for years, and moments of healing, of deep connection, of joy that awaken something ancient within my soul and in my heart. And my hope is that it activates something in you as well. In my recent trip to Sataya Reef in the Red Sea of Egypt, the dolphins were in a bit of a playful mood that day, and I found myself right up in the middle of about 7 different dolphins. They swim very close. They're very aware of space. So they're just right there, but you're not touching. And 2 of them started swimming belly up. They were doing this figure 8 belly up, and they'd come right up eye to eye, and then they'd up, and they'd kind of come up, and they'd come up about 7 passes or more. I was just like, wow, what's happening? This is so fun and interesting. And I could feel it. And all of a sudden I began feeling, literally, it's like an energy healing. Because start to feel the energy shifting. It felt very much communicated to me this was a womb healing and a heart healing. And it was just all this energy. And then when they were done, one in particular stayed and really kind of hovered and locked eyes with me. And we just swam for quite a while together, for quite a long time. And then, of course, eventually you find off and then you connect with another dolphin and you have a different experience. It was absolutely amazing. And I had some very specific healing requests for myself and intentions for this healing that healing that was happening definitely tracked with. So it's amazing how intuitive and in tune they are when you set your healing intentions forth time and time again. It seems that they read that energy and they're able to connect with you in a way that supports it more profoundly and deeply in a fun way that you would have not expected. There's another time, many times actually, where in one area where we were swimming in a different bay, there was banyan trees, and they play this leaf game where they swim and they hook a leaf on their fin or their tail or their nose, and they drop it, and then somebody else picks it up and takes it. It's like their own game of tag or something. And so one time we were swimming and I saw a leaf, and so I picked it up and I dropped it, and he picked it up. And then he played for a little bit and he dropped it, and then I picked it up, and it's like they let me in on their game. It was just so fun that how aware and astute they are and willing, when you have an open heart and an energy field that is working with them and matching with them, they're just very open and connected with you as if you're part of their pod. And it awakens that inner child, that playfulness within your whole body and being. Now, this is very profound. This one for me was something that definitely sticks with me. We're always setting healing requests, right? Whenever I've done these retreats, we're setting our own healing intentions, and the dolphins help and support with this. They're natural healers and very psychically aware and have amazing gifts with their sonar that they use with you. And just being in the water activates that actually on a genetic and cellular level. There's lots of science information about this kind of stuff too, which is very interesting if you feel called to check it out. But in this particular instance, this dolphin, I saw was hurt. He may not have been hurt it looked like it had been a wound that had happened. The whole top of his beak, like his nose, was flipped backwards. Like he got into a fight or something, and it just flipped backwards off of his mouth area. It was like intense. And I was like, oh my gosh, this dolphin had been hurt. It didn't look like he was in pain in that exact moment, but it's definitely something relatively recent and a big wound. And so I felt like, wow, you're always healing us. Let me give you a healing. Would you like a healing? And I asked, and I rubbed my hands together, and I actually activated my energy healing in the water. This is the first time I did this consciously. And I activated my healing energy and asked him telepathically if he wanted a healing, and he stopped. And we just stopped, and we weren't swimming, and he just floated underneath me with my hands sending energy to him during that time. And he stayed for, I don't know, at least a minute or two. I mean, it felt like a long time, but he said, and I could feel the buoyancy of the energy healing happening and transferring. And then he swam away. And then it was so interesting because they came all day at the bay like they often do and stayed all day. And so, later, not too far later, a group of elders, you can definitely tell the energy differences. You got the rambunctious teenagers who are playing and roughhousing and rowdy, swimming all around. And then you got the little babies and their mamas. And then you got the intimate ones, and then you got these elders who came up next to me, and they all just kind of came up and they just let me in. There's about 5 of them, and you could tell they're just kind of the older ones, more wise ones of the group, right? And they communicated to with me, thank you. We know that you sent healing and we just wanted to thank you for that. Like it was like a real acknowledgement. And it's so funny because I've had many telepathic communications. I know that it's real. I've tested it sometimes to make sure like what they say and what happens actually happens, but sometimes you question because it's so clear. And I'm like, oh, well, you're welcome. It's like I didn't really question, but a part of me wants to fight it sometimes. And so I'm like, well, you're welcome. And then they're like, we would love for you to stay here. This was in Hawaii. They no longer have, you can't do dolphin swims there anymore, um, because it just got too populated at that point for that there. And so they stopped doing that. But at the time, they're like, we want you to move to Hawaii. And I was like, wow, my daughter and I actually want to move to Hawaii. I'm like, why do you want me to move to Hawaii? And they're like, because we see, we see how you are a healer and that we want you to run the energy of healing and of joy and of that energy into the ocean waters here. And I'm like, wow, okay. And so while that was a plan that ended up getting misdirected, it was a very powerful moment. Well, that was a plan that ended up getting redirected. My daughter and I had planned, and then life changed course for me. So we didn't move there. But I have kept strong to that, where every time I get in the water, at least consciously, I have the intention of taking a few moments to sending healing into the ocean, into the water. That's something I try to incorporate ever since. It's just sending a little bit of that healing energy into the ocean when I swim. Some of the things they've taught me is so much about community, right? They're so community oriented, that heart centered connection, right? That collaboration of supporting each other, the deep healing, especially for me, I say a lot focuses end up on the sacral and the heart, but really all of the chakras, because they've also stimulated all of my psychic gifts exponentially. I now teach people to develop their psychic gifts, and practicing is a part of it. But they've definitely activated that aspect of myself because that's how they so naturally communicate. And it brings back our gifts and awarenesses from times that we communicated in Lemuria and Atlantis and other times where we had those gifts very online. And so it just brings that back. They also definitely supported my root chakra and my solar plexus about abundance, giving and receiving being in balance, surrender, trust, right? Remembering who I am, aligning with my higher path and purpose, and having that confidence to take action on it, right? And there's so many more emotional and multidimensional healings I'm sure I'm not even aware of yet. Recalling information from other lifetimes. It just goes on, and it creates this ripple effect. And it's something that I am just so excited. Something I've wanted to do for years is share this type of specific, deeply intimate spiritual connection with Swimming with the Wild Dolphins retreat in a powerful portal of Sataya Reef in Egypt. And it would just be my honor to have you with me. If you feel called to this at all, please check the description area. Feel free to hit reply to any email, private message me if you have any questions. I would love to connect with you further because I know how powerful this is to be with the dolphins in this way. And it's so powerful to do the transformation work, coming together with strong intention, and then getting in the water multiple times a day, having the salt wash the energy away. It's like the integration, the healing just happens and integrates exponentially in this environment, working with the ocean, with the dolphins in this way, in conjunction with our spiritual group agreement and healing practices that we'll be doing together as well. So it'd be my honor to see you there. Thank you for sharing this with me, and be sure to share this series with any friends that might be benefiting from this as well. My intention was to have this be soul activating, whether you end up on the retreat with me or not. However, if you feel called, reach out. I'd love to talk to you more. All right. Bye for now.